And, he finished up, guys, with his playing career with the Rockland Boulders, which is an independent professional team where he came from the Chicago Cubs. He was a minor league infielder with the Chicago Cubs and finished a great career playing, which stems from before coming a coach. He was the player of the year in collegiate baseball in New Jersey in 2013 as the Seton Hall shortstop, a leader of the team, and, somebody who I really, hold close to my heart and our Giants family, okay? He went on to coach at Seton Hall. He went on to coach at Manhattan College, and now he's at NJIT with the sweatshirt he's wearing, New Jersey Institute of Technology. So welcome, Giuseppe. There it is, buddy, and go ahead. And I have my New York Giants hat on, guys. The Giants were in New York before they moved to San Francisco. So the Willie Mays that we know, that we really patented this program after, wore this hat, not this actual hat, but he wore this logo. So it's not a Mets hat. Owen, I'm sorry. It's not a Mets hat. Owen, I know Owen's a big Met fan and all you Met fans out there. But you Met fans, the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers were in New York and Brooklyn, the Dodgers, before they moved out to the left coast out there. And the colors of the Mets come from the Giants orange and the Dodger blue. Okay, that's a little our baseball history right now. Coach Giuseppe, go take it, buddy. Go ahead. All you.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Billy. So I played some pro ball, but before that, Coach Blackwell had a pretty big impact on me just from a hitting standpoint. Obviously, he worked with me as a hitter in college and as a professional, but it was more about the relationship stuff. So obviously you can see we still take that really seriously. I talk to him just about as much as you guys do, probably a couple times a week. But when we talked a little bit the other day, we wanted to kind of figure out a way to help you guys think hitting in maybe a little bit different light from what you guys are doing right now, because we're in a really, really different time right now because we can't do as much as we would like to in the cages or on the field. But one of the things I wanted to get across to you guys, I think as a hitter and just from playing and coaching, I've seen and from watching a lot of professional baseball, I've seen a lot of hitters do the same thing a lot of the time. So I'm going to share my screen, and I want you guys just to look at a couple different things. I'm going to show you a picture first, then I'm going to show you some videos and some swing stuff, and we can kind of analyze some big leaguers, some major leaguers that you guys know pretty well. But one thing I want you to see, and some of the guys that I've worked with in this chat, you probably have heard me say it before, but a lot of major leaguers, really good college players, high school players, and players like yourself all get to the same position. And I like to think of it as the launch position. So that's the spot I'm going to show you guys in a second. I'm going to share my screen and pull this up real quick. Uh-oh. Stop sharing. Sorry, guys. Okay. Can you guys see my screen, Jay?
Yes.
Okay. So this picture down here, you might have to zoom a little bit, but there are a bunch of major leaguers from all over the place, from the 20s, 30s to now, big leaguers now. You'll see Babe Ruth in there. You'll see Alex Gordon, Griffey, Chase Utley, Matt Kemp, Beltran, Piazza, A-Rod, Mike Trout, Buster Posey. So you see they're all kind of in the same position, and that's a common denominator of really good hitters. This is a position they get to when their front foot hits the ground after they've loaded a little bit, whether that be a leg kick, no stride, a little bit of a step, toe tap, whatever you guys do. They all started in a different position in their batting stance, and they load and land in this position. So this is the launch position, power position, whatever you guys want to call it. But I want you guys to try and look at every single guy. When their heel hits the ground on their front foot, they're in their lower half. The weight on both of their legs is evenly distributed. I like to think of it as like 50-50. The weight is 50% on your back leg, 50% on your front leg. Really strong base. And their hands are like, the knob of the bat is like over their back foot. So the bat is kind of like behind their head. I like to think of it head over head, but they're in a strong position. And this is where they make all their decisions from. They either decide to swing or they decide they're going to take. I think if you guys all look at this is something that the reason I wanted to bring it up to you guys is we're in a spot right now, and you guys are, where you can't do as much physical stuff as you want with your teammates, but you can dive into this stuff and see it. I know you guys are all on YouTube. You guys obviously know how to use Zoom, so you know how to use the computer and your iPhone. Look at some major leaguers on YouTube and just try and slow their swing down a little bit and see what they're doing. You'll see this common denominator, which means it's just a common move. It's a common part of everybody's swing. All the elite big leaguers get to this spot. I think you guys, where you're at right now, you can do this. Try and do this in the mirror. Just get to see if your body can get to this position. No bat, no swing, no baseball, no nothing. You can do it in your room, in the bathroom. You can do it wherever, in your living room, in front of a mirror. Try and get to this spot. See if you can do that before you can swing like a big leaguer. Just move your body in that position. It can be go from video. Somebody can video taking swings, or you just swinging. You don't even need a ball. You can go to mirror work, and then you can graduate to the tee a little bit. But now, when we're not really playing games, now is the time to dive into it and try and see if you can do some of this with your body and create a really good foundational swing from the ground up. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is once they get to this position, I'm going to go to Matt Carpenter. This is a pretty good video. Jay, you can still see this clear? This is still good?
Yeah. Yes.
So I want you guys, what'd you say?
Yes, it just came on the screen. Good.
Okay. So Matt Carpenter, I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with him. He's an infielder with the Cardinals, has had a couple really good seasons, but this video really illustrates the position he gets to in his launch, but not really this position that's frozen on. But I want you to watch the path of the bat matching the path of the ball. So I'll play it a couple different times. You guys can see that the bat is coming in right behind the ball on that level plane. So the ball is coming in a little bit on a downward angle from the pitcher's hand to the catcher's glove, but the bat is meeting that plane. So what that's doing for big league hitters and for you guys to try and do is to just give you a chance to be on plane with the ball, to run into the ball as often as possible. Whether you're a little bit late or a little bit early, perfectly on time. You'll hit the ball square if you're on time, but the thing this is doing for you guys is trying to get you to have a little bit more room for error. So when you're not perfectly on time, you can still get a hit. So we'll play that a couple more times, and you can see the bat chases the ball. So you can see right there, his finish is not going around his body or straight up in the air. It's kind of chasing that same pattern that he started with. You guys see that pretty clear? The last time, his bat is in the hitting zone, which is pretty much like the strike zone, behind him a little bit, and he's going to be in the hitting zone all the way out in front of him, all the way through contact.
Coach?
See that?
Yes, Coach.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have full screen privileges on that itself, right on there where you're, all the way to the other. Yeah. And that might help everybody get a bigger look at it. Like I'm on my laptop, so that's really excellent now.
Good.
Depending on what device they're on, obviously they have a bigger screen or smaller screen.
Good. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I'll just show just one more time. The reason this is important is because besides that launch position that I talked to you guys about, a lot of really elite hitters, their bat is in the zone for a long time. So their timing, when you're trying to time up pitches, you guys have seen it too in games when you're trying to hit a fastball, breaking ball, a changeup, you're trying to be in the zone as long as possible so you don't have to be perfect with your timing. So last time through, we'll just see his bat on a level plane, getting all the way through that baseball. So the next thing I want you guys to think about when we think about hitting, and you're kind of in that age group where sometimes you get stuck trying to do so much instead of simplifying it. So what I mean by trying to do it might be like mechanical, mental, whatever it is. When I think about good hitters, I think about their intent. And that obviously means what are your intentions when you're swinging. So I'm going to pull up another video back here. And this is Josh Donaldson and his intent. This is going to be a take, but I want you guys to see the way his body moves right until he freezes before he's going to swing. So everything in his swing is saying yes until at the last second his body is going to say no. that looks like he's going to swing, and then he shuts it down. So I'll play that again. He's looking like he's going to hit. He's doing damage. His eyes tell him that's a ball, or his timing is off a little bit. Whatever it is, it's not the pitch he's looking for. It could be a million different things, but he's ready to swing right here. He's looking to do damage. So I think for guys in your age, and I remember it as a player myself too, sometimes I was at fault because I wasn't looking to hit every pitch until my eyes told me no. I think at the age that you guys are at, and at every level of baseball, it's like the approach is yes, yes, no. So I'm hitting, and then my eyes or something tells me that it's not a good pitch to hit. I'm not going to swing at it. That's the last thing that comes through. It's yes, yes, no. So watch one more time. He's going to hit this ball, and then something tells him no at the last second. But his intent is to hit that ball. His timing might have been off a little bit, and that's another thing. We can train mechanics, but if we don't have timing, we don't have much to work with. So timing, intent, rhythm, that's all important from every aspect of hitting. And I'm going to take myself off the screen real quick. So you can see me now, Blackie, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if you have any questions or you have anything about that, but I'm going to show you guys something else too. But were you going to say something?
Coach, I'm going to ask the guys to use the message board, the chat board, and I'm sure one or two have some kind of question in there. They could type in, and then we'll see it, the three of us or whatever, or Billy, and we can unmute that microphone for that player, even as we get towards the end of the segment. But excellent with video right there, and just, where he is, Josh Donaldson, when he lands and when his eyes tell him no, and where he is at the beginning or ending, so to say, of weight transfer if he actually swings, and how he stayed back on the ball he took.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to explain too. I don't know if I got a little bit too wordy or threw a little bit too much at you. You guys can let me know, and Jay, you can let me know too. But I think it's important to realize that you can have a really good swing and you can train all you want, train your swing, train your movements. But if your intent and your timing are off, those are two really, really, really important pieces that you're going to be missing. So you might think, man, my hands are not in the right spot, or my feet are not in the right spot, my hips. But you might just be waiting too long to see the ball, or your timing might be off, or it might be something visually, you're not picking the ball up. And we always go to, I always did it, and I'm sure Jay will say it too, because I've drove him crazy sometimes. I always thought it was like my movement, or my hands in the right spot, is my bat in the zone, or is my head overhead, whatever it is. And it was like, all right, I was just a little bit off time, or I was waiting too long to decide to swing. I think one of the things I've seen best about some really good hitters, and that's the reason I showed Donaldson, because I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of him too. He's all over the place with his swing mechanics, and he's really interested in it, and he takes pride in it. But he's looking to hit. He's always in there looking to hit. And I'm sure if you were to tell him, all right, 3-0, you have to take, he would still move like he's going to hit. He'd still try and get a leg up with his timing, his rhythm, try and see the ball as clear as possible, so he's not wasting any reps. And I think that's important for you guys too, to see that. It's like, all right, now is the time to maybe try and see if I can move like that in the mirror, and see if my body can get in those positions that all really good hitters are getting in. But then it's like when the game, and we're going to start playing baseball sooner rather than later, hopefully. It's going to be the game comes, and you're going to have to dig in the box and be like, I want to hit right now. And I trust my eyes to tell me that, all right, maybe that's a ball, or maybe that's not a strike, that's not the pitch I'm looking for. But my intent has to be, I want to swing the bat and I want to hit the ball hard. Hopefully that's clear. I know I see some chat down here. I see a question.
It's from Joey Grasso.
You want to answer that at the end, Jay?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to get across to you guys too is some really, really good hitters, they have a really, really interesting mindset. And I always think of the two words bounce back. So some of the guys, Dash and Brian, I know I've worked with you guys a couple times. And you might have heard me say, like, your bounce back swing. All right, everybody is going to pop a ball up in the cage, swing and miss. They're going to roll over. What's going to happen on the next one? So I've played and done some cage work with next to some really good big leaguers, and I've seen one thing that's a common denominator with some guys playing at the highest level. They all roll over the ball, they all pop it up, but the elite hitters, the next one, they're making adjustment right away, and it might be hitting off the tee, they roll one over, they step out, take a deep breath, and they refresh and they bounce back on the next swing. So the reason I said Bash and Brian is because you guys have probably heard me. All right, bounce back swing. I'll throw a pitch in BP. Maybe you roll it over. All right, bounce back. What's the most important pitch? Is the pitch right now. So sometimes, especially when we're training, even in games too, we're training and it's like we miss a pitch and then we try harder on the next one, but there's no real adjustment. Try harder is not really an adjustment. Try harder is just like more pressure and effort. An adjustment would be, okay, I have to be a little bit earlier. I have to be in my legs a little bit more. I have to loosen my grip on the bat. That's an adjustment. Trying harder and wanting to do it and gripping your bat really tight isn't really an adjustment. So I think that's important for some guys to see too, is like my swing can be really good. I'm going to try and train as best as I can, but what is going to be my go-to thing, like when I need to bounce back? I know Jay trains a lot of you guys too in your practices, and he talks you through a lot of different things, and he knows a ton about hitting. But when it comes down to it in the game, if you miss your pitch, you foul it straight back, the pitch you're looking for, you're going to have to bounce back. And I think it needs to be practiced. I think that's something that's a skill that everybody needs to have, is like, okay, it might be, say it's December and you guys are training as a team and you miss 5 in a row and you didn't make an adjustment and you're just swinging. I look at that, and I think a lot of people do too. I'm sure, Jay, you would say the same thing. It's almost like wasted time. If you miss one or hit one, take a second and think about, all right, what do I have to do to make that adjustment? And then you can let your really good swing and really good timing, then you can let all that play. But sometimes we cluster all of our bad swings into like 10 bad swings in a row, and then we're mad and we throw our stuff and we quit, or we get really let down by ourselves and we're not having fun playing the game anymore. When it can be, all right, let's keep this one pitch at a time and have fun doing it. Make our adjustment and have fun playing the game. I think sometimes when we don't make the adjustment, we just try harder. We almost shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit. Like we're getting in our own way. So I think that's another mindset thing. We're talking about like what really good hitters do. We talked about getting in the launch position, getting to that spot. That spot, when you swing or take, you have to get to that spot. That's what elite hitters do. We have to keep our bat in the zone as long as we can to try and, I mean, if our timing isn't perfect, we still want to have a chance to put a barrel on a ball, and we have to be able to bounce back. There has to be some mindset to it. So we're doing all those things. Our intent and our timing have to be really good. We have to want to hit when we get in there. But then if we miss it, like we're all going to do, there's no big leaguer or any of you guys on the planet that are going to square up every single ball. It's going to be the most important thing is like, what am I going to do next? What's the next adjustment that I need to make to bounce back on the next one? Because you guys have all had it. Like you might start the day 0 for 2, and then you're like, your third at bat, you're like, I got to get 3 hits right now. I got to go 3 for 3, but I'm already 0 for 2. That's a lot of pressure instead of like, all right, I'm going to have a really good at bat in this at bat right now. This first pitch, I'm going to be ready to hit it. When you can simplify it like that, you guys will have so much fun playing the game. And I think that's something now too at your age. You want to be so good and you train so hard and you play on Jay's team and you play on the other teams in your town and you play a lot of baseball, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. It's like, let's keep it one pitch at a time and have some fun doing it. That's the way you got to train too. Jay, anything for that? I got one more thing I do want to talk about. And Jay, do you have anything?
Go to your next thing. That's fine, and then we'll open for some questions and we'll do like a recap. That's very good.
Sorry, I'm getting a little wordy with you guys, but I'm passionate about it and I have fun talking about it. But I think the other thing to do now is that if you're not playing games for a while, which you might not, it might be another couple weeks. Why don't you? I think as a whole, we should all look at some of our weaknesses. So you want to amplify your strengths. Like Brian, if you hit balls really hard to center field, you want to keep hitting balls really hard to center field, and you want to train that. But if you don't address your weaknesses, I think we're not really going to be a well-rounded player. So the reason I say that is because now you have a little bit more time than you usually do. You usually be at practice or playing games. Now you have a little bit more time on your own to address your weaknesses and work on things that you might not have had the time to work on them as in depth as you do right now. So if I'm a catcher and I can really hit, but I want to catch and that's not my strong suit, now is the time to go defensively and get really good defensive. Or if I'm a pitcher and I throw really hard and I just don't throw strikes and I don't have a breaking ball, now's a good time to try and work on it. Whether it be the stuff that we talked about before, go on YouTube, see some guys do it, see if your body can get in those positions, and try and address some of the things that maybe you wouldn't normally have the time to address. So now when you do play games, because we're going to play baseball sooner rather than later, when you do play games, you're going to get in the box or get on the mound and you're going to be like, man, I'm glad I worked on that. But sometimes we get caught up in like only doing what we really like to do. Like I use Brian as an example. He hits the ball hard and far. If he only thinks about that, there are going to be times where he's like, man, I should have done a little bit more to hit the ball the other way, or I should have worked on defense a little bit more. But if we're thinking about how to address our weaknesses, I think we'll be happy in the long run. So now's a good time to do that. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, very good. Very good. I kind of look at these 3 months, going back a month ago and this one coming up now, and hopefully the guys get on the field. But like the last 3 months that we have, including this one, and you're getting some pretty good weather, guys. Today's an ugly day, but look, we got great baseball going on just in this conversation going on right now with Coach. So I'm almost looking at it like it's December, January, and February again, but now it's better weather. So that training you did over the winter, now you take it outside. You take it in your garage. You take it in your backyard. You go to a local field if you can, and you start to work on all those things that you have more time actually now to work on. So it becomes winter training all over again in the spring, and you're just going to have more baseball than you really ever did, minus actually getting, be able to play in a game. So now you're going to be even more prepared. I look at it that way pretty much. And they're tackling a lot of different things. We've been real fortunate to have some great guests on and getting to talk to these guys, and these guys on the call now, they're all 7th and 8th graders. Mm-hmm. So they're even more fortunate than our high school guys because they're getting Division I coaches that are able to speak to them, which is fantastic. So even though we know we're not talking about, the recruiting process, how to get to college baseball, what a college baseball player does, that's a little bit far along for the mind of a 13 and 14-year-old. But they're getting to hear from guys at the highest level, just quality people like yourself. So I know this is, if anything, it's real inspiring to them. It creates even more of a passion. And they should have that passion go beyond because they're going to be able to get out on the field someday and they're ready to just get out there. It's almost the true term of cabin fever is really going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just busting at the seams, but now they're just soaking up the knowledge. They really are. Thank you.
I agree. No, this is great that you guys are doing this. And before we answer some questions, there's one thing that I did want to share with you. Is one of my favorite quotes, and it's a Kobe Bryant quote, and it's one of his old trainers showed up to a training session of his, and it was like 4:00 in the morning. He's doing like a million drills for like 3 hours, but he starts his practice with really in-depth work of super, super fundamentally basic things, like dribbling with both hands. And the way I think of it is like the way that baseball players do like T-work or like their pick drills or the way they play catch, the way they go about playing catch. And the trainer walked up to Kobe and he was like, "You're the best player on the planet. You've been in the league for 10 years already. Why do you do such like elementary drills? These are drills that I would teach to my 6th grade basketball team." And Kobe said, "The best never get bored with the basics." And that stuck with me when I heard that quote. I was like, that's so true, because like at every level of baseball, you see guys hit off the tee. You see guys hit front toss. They hit off the pitching machine. They take ground balls. They do the pick work. They play catch with really good intent. They hit their guy in the chest every time. It's like the best players at your 7th and 8th grade or in the big leagues, they just master the little things really, really consistently. They never get bored of it. It's like, I'm going to be so good at this that I almost can't get it wrong. Instead of like, all right, I need to get it right and then I can leave. It's like, no, I'm going to stay until I can never get it wrong. And I think sometimes if you look at it like, we talk about one pitch at a time, like if you can build that mindset one pitch at a time, be such a better player over the course of whatever the coronavirus stuff that you have to kind of do on your own, the tee, the front toss, all that stuff. If you can apply that mindset to the time that you guys are in right now, you're going to look, when you get on the field, you're going to look at it and be like, wow, I'm glad I did that every single rep. I'm glad I never got bored with the basics. I turned into a pretty good player. So now's a good time to do that. I wanted to share that with you guys because I heard that when I was a player, and I was like, oh, that inspired me. I was going to go shoot some jump shots, but I decided to hit off the tee instead. But it was something that always stuck with me, and I relay that to players that I work with all the time is the best, even whether it be anything, any profession, teachers, businessmen, firemen, baseball players, they never get bored with the basics. All the stuff that they need to do consistently every single day, they just hammer it and do it. And they're way more consistent. That's the name of the game for baseball, consistency. So I thought that was something interesting I wanted to share with you. I felt like I needed to do you guys justice and share that with you. So we can get into some of the questions. I don't really, Jay, do you want to read them?
Yeah, they'll have some questions because they know I'm going to call upon guys individually, and they'll be ready for it. And Coach Carl's on the call too, so I know he'll have something. He'll have something that's pretty good too, as far as something that's going to help these guys in a way. So our birthday guy, Joey Grasso, turn your microphone on. So Joey, his question was on Josh Donaldson and not to swing like Josh Donaldson, and he's probably talking about the load. But I'm pretty sure that's what his question was. Joey, go ahead. Where's your question?
I was just wondering, like, what was the best way to control yourself to make sure you don't swing like Josh Donaldson did?
That's a really really good question. So I'm sure you guys all know what sequence means. So that means like the order of which something happens. So, and I know Jay agrees with me on this. The sequence starts from the ground for your swing. From your load to your actual swing, you have to start loading with your lower body, and then you have to start swinging with your lower body. So your hips, then the shoulders, then the hands come through. But if you watch him swing, he's swinging, he's saying yes, 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 and then at the last second he's saying no, but his hands are the last thing to come through. So his hands are still back, and he has a little bit saved in the tank, and those are going to be his brakes. So his engine is his lower body and his core, and he's firing everything, and then the little muscles in his body, he can hold those with the big muscles in his body. So the reason I said sequence before is because sometimes kids, when they're learning like the movement of the swing and trying to feel their body doing certain things, they get really, can you guys see me? They get really like hands dominant, and they want to like throw their hands at everything. If we're doing that, in that instance where you're trying to take, you can't slow down your hands because the bat is weighing out in front of your hand. So it's hard to shut that down. But if you're in sequence, if you're loading from the ground up, your feet, your legs, your glutes, your hips, if you're loading from the ground up and swinging from the ground up, you can get all those muscles firing, and then the only thing you have to stop are your hands and the bat. So all the big muscles, the big strong muscles in your body, your back, your glutes, your legs, they can stop your hands because they're stronger and they carry more weight. But sometimes if we're like, the ball's coming and we're swatting at it like a fly swatter with a tennis racket, we can't. At the last second, when we don't want to swing, we can't slow that down. The bat's going to go. And I'm sure I've been there. I'm sure you guys have all been there where you're like, the ball's halfway to the plate and you're like, I don't want to swing. And then you're swinging because you can't shut it down. But if you're in the right sequence from the ground up, from your lower body to your upper body, you can shut it down just like he did in that swing. So his mind is saying, I'm swinging, and he's in sequence, and then the last second you can shut it down. But Joey, does that make sense to you? I can see you. You can just shake.
Yeah.
Yeah? Does that make sense? Jay, you think so?
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. Travis is going to come on now. Travis has the next question, and you kind of were leading into it anyway. So, Travis, go ahead, buddy.
So what are some things you do to minimize rolling over on the ball and off-speed pitches and staying back in your swing?
Can you guys hear me? I was muted for a second.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
That's another really good question. You got some smart ball players. So something I like to think about when you are in that mindset of like yes, yes, no, and then you see maybe like a breaking ball that you're not supposed to swing at, or you're kind of like out in front and you don't want to swing and then you end up rolling it over. One adjustment I like to think about is try and keep your head still as long as possible. So if you watch this, another thing that you can see on YouTube, watch major leaguers. Once they get to that launch position that I showed you, all of those big leaguers at, once they get to that position, their head is done moving. So their eyes aren't moving and they're not committing to the swing. If they commit too early and their eyes start moving, then that's when they can't hold up. But I think something to help you stay back, as some people call it, staying back or staying grounded, is to not have to move as far forward. So if you're moving way big back and jumping way far forward, it's hard to shut that movement down. But if you're balanced the whole time, you're balanced on your way back, you're balanced on your way forward, you're balanced when you hit the ground, and you're in a good sequence, I think you can stay back or like hold your hands back a little bit longer is the way I think of staying back. So if your hands are in sequence and your hands are behind you, you can stay back. The other thing too is rolling over. I think rolling over most of the time is a byproduct of being early. So we're going to roll over sometimes just because our bat is too far out in front. But if we can move our body, keep our head still, and let the ball travel a little bit, we can still be aggressive without like running at the baseball. We can be aggressive in between our feet, which means once we move and we hit that launch position, we're aggressive in there. We don't have to go any further forward. So I think that when we talk about vision, and trying to see the ball as clear as possible, that's what's going to help you lay off the off speed. If you can see it early, if you're trying to move and pick up the ball early, you can lay off speed pitches. But I think sometimes if we wait too long, that's the reason I was saying, and I know this is getting a little bit long, but that's the reason I was saying the yes, yes, no approach. It's like, I want to get in there and then I'm saying I'm going to hit and then the ball will tell me that I'm not going to hit. But sometimes as hitters, we get in there and we're thinking, all right, I'm going to wait until I can see the ball and then I'm going to decide to swing or not. And then sometimes it's like we're trying to do everything all in one split second. See the ball, decide to swing, then get our really good swing off, be on time. If we get in there and we're like, all right, I'm hitting this ball, we're timing, we're seeing it, and then we're either swinging or we're not. So I think sometimes when we give ourselves more time to see the ball early, we can lay off the off-speed pitches. And I think sometimes if you're rolling over breaking balls, I think you just need to see the ball. I heard a really good quote was see the ball twice on a breaking ball. I see the breaking ball and then I'm going to see it again. It's pretty much like let the ball get there. See the breaking ball twice. You see the breaking ball and then see it again, then you're taking your swing at it. Sometimes you see the breaking ball out of the hand and you just jump and swing at it. Sometimes you're going to roll that ball over. Make sense?
Excellent, coach. Excellent. Very good. Very good. No matter what the pitch is, guys, breaking ball coach is talking about, curveball, changeup, those are the three pitches you're probably getting at your age right now, and maybe not from every pitcher. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Very rarely you're going to have some younger 7th and 8th grader who knows how to throw a slider, a cut fastball, or anything like that. But, the movement of it is what, we're really trying to see. So obviously when it comes out of his hand, that breaking ball, the first movement, and when it gets to you is basically the second movement, like Coach was just talking about. And it's your eyes. You got to use your eyes, but you also want to allow your brain to tell you what to do. So if your eyes are seeing the ball, but you're not processing it with your little brains there, your 7th and 8th grade brain, that is the difference from that yes, 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 no. Okay? You want to allow your eyes to give you the opportunity to make that good decision later on. Later on, we make that decision when the ball gets down to you, right? Coach Carl, turn your microphone on. I'm going to have Coach Carl speak for a second. You got anything you want to ask Coach or talk to Coach? And we have another question on the chat, too, from Aldo. So, Coach Carl, go ahead.
So, Coach, first I want to thank you very much for taking the time here to talk to a lot of these kids. It's very important. I think it's very important for these kids just to be able to talk a little baseball during this downtime. But I think the one thing, so I coach one of the 13-year-old teams, and the one thing that I start talking to them about is really the mental approach to hitting. At this time, Coach Blackwell just kind of touched on a little bit, but they're starting to see like the biggest change for them from what I can see is that now they're starting to see more off-speed pitches, whether it be a curveball, changeup. So what I started to try and talk to them, maybe you can give them maybe 1 or 2 tips or something like that they can do either mental or even in their own stance is really talking about 2-strike hitting. How can they become a better hitter, or if there are things that you would recommend that they can do to minimize their chances of striking out, whether it's we talk about maybe widening our base, seeing the ball long. Is there anything else or anything that you would maybe some tips or something you can give them to help them be a better 2-strike hitter?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And Carl, nice to meet you. Appreciate you being on here too. 2-strike hitting at every level is one of those things where everybody's trying to find that one thing that sets everybody apart. Like our 2-strike approach as a team is better than everybody else's because of what? And I think as a coach and a player, you're always searching for that thing, because if you can cut down your strikeouts, you maximize the opportunity to obviously get a hit just by putting the ball in play. So what you were saying before is brilliant. Is the mindset needs to be the way I like to think of it with our Division I players are, it's me versus you. Once we get to 2 strikes, it's like the guys that are good 2-strike hitters take it really, really personal. It's like it's a challenge. It's me versus you. It's one guy versus one guy, and it's like it might not be pretty and it might not be my A swing, but I'm gonna put my B hack on it. It's like I'm gonna B hack them to death almost. It's like I could, if I'm a leg kick guy and I like to hold the bat above my head, and some guys like to do that, and that's fine if you can be consistent doing that. Let's try, and the word I like to use, and everybody thinks about it with 2-strike approach, is simplify. So what's my A swing? Let's simplify that to be my B swing, and then that's what I go to work with. It's like I'm going to challenge. I'm going to take 2-strike hitting really personal, because I'm not letting this guy strike me out. It's like a mindset thing. You have to take that personal. And the guys, I've ran into guys, and I'm sure you have too, and Blackie, I'm sure you have as well. It's like, all right, my 2-strike approach is like choke up and get wide. And that works for a lot of guys. It worked for me. But if the mindset isn't there, it's not the same. You can make anybody choke up and get wide, but if the mindset isn't there, that doesn't mean that they're not going to strike out. So I think at this age, which is an awesome development age for baseball players, is like you start to think the game a little bit more just because you're forced to. Now there are kids that can throw breaking balls for strikes and throw a little bit harder than they used to when you were in Little League and starting to play like whatever, 60, 90, 50, 70. Now we're at the point where it's like some of these kids are really pretty good. So if you don't have your 2-strike approach, there's nothing you're going to. You're just going to battle and hoping that something happens. So I think the mindset has to be, all right, I'm going to challenge here. It's me versus him. And the guys that make their simplified adjustment, whether it be, like you said, I was a guy that liked to make my adjustment. I just put my bat on my shoulders and widened my feet out, and I gave myself a better chance to not mess anything up. It was like, whatever pitch is coming here, I'm not going to move much, but I'm going to put the bat on it. I'm going to do my best to put the bat on it, give myself a chance. And one thing, my last thing with 2-strike approach is I heard a stat for college baseball. So college baseball, and you guys play a long spring and summer season too, so it might be similar. A college hitter, let's say it's 15 weeks in a season. The difference between a 250 hitter and a 300 hitter is 1 hit per week. It's like 15 hits. So if you think about it, if my 2-strike approach is really good, and every time I get into a 2-strike at bat, which is a lot of at bats, if I give myself a chance to just get 1 hit, 1 extra hit a week, I can hit 50 points higher if that's culminated over a season. And I tell that to our Division I guys. I'm like, do you want to be all conference, or do you want to hit like 250? It's like you have to swallow your pride, take your B hack, be challenge, give yourself a shot. That's the thing, is like, I want to give myself a chance. I'm not going to mess it up. I'm just going to be really, for me, it was, I'm going to simplify and be really conservative with my approach, and just it's me versus that guy. I'm going to give myself a chance here instead of taking maybe my big leg kick and take a big swing at it. Shorten up, and you guys, again, I'll go back to YouTube. You guys can see it on YouTube too. It's like go watch Anthony Rizzo's 2-strike approach. He's a big leg kick guy in his no-strike approach, or his hitter's count approach. 2 strikes, he chokes up this much. Joey Votto's too. Choke up this much, and they just try to put it in play.
You know, guys, there's nothing more important than it starts with number one. When you're the hitter, you're trying to get to first base. You got to get to first base before you get anywhere else, guys, okay? And how you can do that and how you do it is up to you mentally, and the approach, as Coach just used that term, approach. We always use that term. You know, how you approach it for yourself as a team guy, as a team player. Aldo's ready. Aldo's game ready. Aldo looks good right now. He's got the Jersey Giant orange on. He's got the winter hat, the white hat. He looks good. Aldo, you ready, buddy? It's your question. Go ahead, pal.
Sure.
Yeah. When you want to get into like that spot, like Piazza and Hayes and Carpenter all in, should you start wide and then like take a small kick, or start like kind of keep your feet close and then take a big leg kick, or does it not really matter?
Really good question, and that's the reason I pulled that picture up to show you guys. Is if you were to go and look at all of those hitters, and it has their name under the picture, if you were to go and look at all of those hitters' batting stances, they're all drastically different. They're all really, really different. Some guys are up here with their feet this close together. Some guys are here with their feet this close together. Some are leg kick, toe tap, knee tuck, no stride, foot down early. They do a million different things, but once they get to that position, they all look really similar. So the reason I showed that picture, I'm not sure if you saw it before, they all start in a different spot. And I think some of that, I mean, it can be refined a little bit, but some of it is like a comfort thing. So your question makes complete sense. It's like, okay, to get to that position, do I have to leg kick like Josh Donaldson? No. Maybe my approach would be keep my feet closer to the ground, see the ball, and put my A swing on it. Some guys are the opposite. They want to take a really big swing and try and run into it and hit it over the fence. And I think that adjustment too was big for me. Was when I went from being pretty good all conference to being like all American and the draft pick, my approach was to simplify what I was trying to do. I always tried to be leg kick, toe tap guy. And I was like, all right, maybe that's not me. And I went with what was a little bit more conservative, and I was way more consistent. So like you said, I tried all those different approaches, and I just needed to be a little bit more comfortable. I needed to do what I felt was like a little bit more confident and comfortable in my setup, and then I can get to that position a little bit better. So some guys are different though. You might, Aldo, is that your first name, Aldo?
Yeah.
You might be a kid that has his feet really close together, picks his knee up, and he can get to that position every time, and that works for you. Somebody else, Brian, you might be a guy that needs to start a little bit wider, and you can only get to that position that way. Everybody is a little bit different, but I think that position is the most important position. That's what I was going through before. So you can start however you want, but just that position, you have to know if you can get to that position or not consistently. And if you can't, then maybe you go backwards and start to look at the way you're set up. Maybe you have to put yourself a little bit closer to that launch position and simplify a little bit. Does that make sense, Aldo?
Yeah, thank you.
You got it.
Very good, Coach. I don't know if any other guys, have a question out there, or something that they want to talk to you about as far as with hitting, or even just something in baseball itself. So I'm gonna pick a guy. I'm gonna randomly pick somebody, and we'll close it out. Right after this. Sounds good. I'm gonna go to Anthony, since Anthony's in New York right now. So we're gonna send it over to another state and let him join in right now and pick something, whatever he wants. He's usually pretty good at this. So go ahead, Ed.
What is your pre-game routine? Like, what do you do to get ready before the game?
Swinging wise, talking about hitting.
Yeah.
Besides, like I was, especially in college, I was a guy that wanted to do my cage routine kind of like on my own or with a guy like Jay. Like I remember doing some tosses, and then you go out for like pre-game batting practice. So I'm sure you guys have seen it on TV. The guys will work kind of alone. Like the major leaguers will work kind of like by themselves in the cage to do what they do to feel right mentally. So for me, it was I had a routine of like I would take a couple swings really wide off of the tee, hit a couple balls up the middle. Then I would grab like a really heavy bat and work through my regular swing, kind of like Jay's penny bat, and just kind of feel like the big motor in my body, the big muscles in my body were moving that heavy bat. think that's the idea behind it. Then I would start to get into front toss. I would hit a couple balls the other way in the opposite gap. For a righty, it was like right center field, a couple balls up the middle, and I just felt good from there. I was like, I know, and I developed that routine over years of playing and practicing. I was like, if I do these things in the cage, I know mentally that I feel good. So now when I go out for batting practice, I don't feel like I have to hit every ball good to get a hit in the game or to perform well in the game. I did my routine, which was like what I felt like I needed to do to feel right. And then if I didn't take a good BP, it didn't really matter to me. It was like I know what I needed to do, and I did it already before I got out there, and then I could just go out there and have fun. So my routine was I did a little bit of tee. I would do some drill work, specific stuff, and then I would grab a heavy bat, just feel the big muscles in my body, and then I would hit some balls away, hit some balls middle, and then I was ready to go. But it was all about doing that to feel good mentally. It wasn't as much to do with like swing mechanics. Make sense?
Yeah.
Great question. Really good. Jay, you got a bunch of smart baseball players here.
I tell you what, they really are passionate, enthusiastic. You know, they're coming out of a really good winter at the dugout, the Jersey dugout. They just worked hard, you know, really hard. And most of them that are on the call right now work together, whether they were on the same Giants team or more than one Giants team. They're creating a really good family atmosphere. And I think a little bit of what goes on for them at this age that they don't realize is going on, that happens at the older age groups, especially when you get out of high school, you know, immediately in college. And if you're fortunate to play beyond college, you don't have 9, 10, 11, 12 guys on a team. There's a lot more of that. So there's competition built within that when you have more guys. When you have another guy standing at your position every day in practice, or, you know, every day in the routines you go through as a player, there's more than one shortstop. There's more than one center fielder, you know. So you have that push, you know, you have that self-motivation almost happens with guys when you create what we've done with these guys, meaning a family atmosphere, and you're on a Giants team, but you're all of one, you know. So I'm really happy with the way they go about it, Coach. And they do. They ask great questions. They want this. They want it every day from somebody. They want to hear from coaches and older players that have experience. They want to know it. They want you to share your experience like you just did.
Yeah, they're impressive bunch of guys. Get a little bit better every day. You guys will be all right.
That's it, right? David Larson, put your mic on. I'm going to go to David because he's going to come up with something just like that without even knowing that I'm about to call him. So go ahead, David. Go ahead. Let's see what you have, buddy.
I want to know what you think is a good thought to have when you're in the box. Just anything.
Just mentally, like what
Yeah.
can I think to help me? I think one thing that's developed that is not fake and it's not forced is when you feel confident is when you've prepared the right way. So I think the right mindset to have as a hitter is the work that I've done preparation-wise is going to get me ready for right now, and now I'm better than this guy. Is the mentality that I think that you guys need to take, and it's developed. The reason I say developed is because if you don't do the work, like if you don't go to practice and you don't work out all winter, all fall, and then you go in the spring, of course you're going to doubt yourself when you get in the box against a kid throwing hard with a good curveball. You're going to be like, I should have hit this whole winter. But if you're in there and you're like, all right, I hit every day of the week. I hit on holidays. I did whatever. And I trust what I was doing. Now I convince myself I'm better than this guy. And then you can let yourself play. That's when you can play free, is when you're really confident. And confidence can't be forced and it can't be fake, but it can be earned. You can develop that through hard work and through like passionate work with what you're trying to get better at. So the answer to your question, I think, when we want to think confident and think mentally tough in the situation, I think it's developed over time of a bunch of hard work where you have like a process and a goal in mind. So if you're doing that, if you're doing all the work, the game comes and you're like, I'm ready to play. I'm better than this guy. It's something you can think about. It's like, I've prepared myself to be ready for this moment. I know Jay, I wish I had the magic word where you can get in the box and say like, the magic word, and you're confident and ready to hit. But I think you would agree too. There's no one way fits all, and I think it's developed. I think a lot of people would agree that you need to like earn the confidence with yourself, and then you can have those good thoughts in the game to get you ready to compete.
Yes, absolutely. I agree absolutely with that. And, the one thing too is that for younger players, there are so many negative thoughts that go through their head, especially if they're coming off a bad at-bat, a strikeout, the at-bat before. And having that nervousness, having those butterflies when they get in the box on that next at-bat, and especially if it's, a runner in scoring position, and just having negative thoughts in their head, and they're talking to themselves that they're going to make an out instead of saying to themselves something positive, knowing I'm going to hit a double right now. I'm driving this running. Let's go. Throw me that fastball because I'm just going to mash you right now. Okay? Like, those kind of thoughts going on in the box in your head versus even the thinking. Thinking comes from not knowing, guys. So your preparation includes this, what Coach is talking about in hitting. Your preparation right now during this month is to create those thoughts in your head, create those situations, put yourself in that, You're playing in a USABL game, and it is man on second, 2 outs, and you're not saying to yourself, oh, man, I stink right now. Holy cow, I hope you don't throw me the curveball, okay? Thinking too much from not knowing already what your plan is causes the negativity, causes the poor results, all right? You want to be positive. You want to know that you can get it done, right? And that's the important part about mental preparation is included. It's just not the physical hitting the batting tee, turning your pitcher machine on, taking 50 swings off the machine. What Coach is talking about to us today is what he did. He's one of you guys, just a little bit old, only a little tiny bit older, just a little bit, He did these things, and some of these things are on the job training, okay? When you're not successful at something, maybe it's time to change, okay? Maybe it's time to change, all right?
I got one last thing for David. So the way I like to think of it, I always thought, and you touched on it too when you're thinking negative or positive thinking, it's like the mental game. The best analogy I always thought about was like everybody says, all right, don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant. First thing you're thinking about is a pink elephant. It's like sometimes you're in the box and you're like, oh my God, don't strike out. I can't strike out here. I can't strike out. Don't. And then you're thinking only about striking out. And that goes back to what I was saying before about the yes, yes, no approach. You get in there and you're like, I'm better than this guy. I'm hitting this pitch until my eyes tell me that I'm not. So you're always trying to think about what you want to do, what you want to happen. When you're in practice, you're thinking about, all right, what's the goal I'm trying to obtain here? Do I want to hit this ball the opposite way on the line? What am I trying to do? Or is it you're stuck in the cage in the winter and you're like, oh my God, I've rolled over the last 5 balls and hit them all to shortstop. If I roll over this one, I'm going to you're only thinking about what you don't want to happen. So we have to think about a little bit, especially when we're competing in a game, you want to think about what you do want to happen. What are the goals that you do want to attain? The things that you want to see come true, because your body and your mind are going to move in that direction. If you're always thinking about what you don't want to do, your body slowly starts to do those things that you don't want to do. So I think, David, that was a really good question, but that's something that's a little bit more, I guess, tangible. Like you can do that right now. You can start thinking about, okay, what am I trying to do here? If you take that into your practice, you'll see you start moving a little bit differently. You have a little bit more of like a confident demeanor to yourself when you know what you're trying to accomplish. You start to move in that direction, the way you carry yourself and the way you execute what you're trying to do.
Coach, I honestly can say from my end that I believe everyone got better, myself included, from this call today. From what we just, the experience to be able to listen in, to be able to share, to be able to have some questions answered. That's the point. It's a bad day outside. It's pouring rain, but we got better. And that's great for all these guys. But I do have to say one thing. I do have to say one thing, Coach, to cut you off for 1 second. This is always where it comes into play, where the mind that you're speaking to. So meaning, we have most of the call is 13 or 14-year-olds. Joey Grasso, 1 day minus of his next age. Right, Joey? Yeah, baby. So, for these guys here, I don't know if there's anybody could turn their microphone on right now and explain what the heck does pink elephant mean. I'm looking for a guy to turn his mic on and tell us what Coach meant by that. Does anyone know that one? Nobody's turning their mic on, Coach. So,
Wait, I got one. Coach, yeah, I'll do it.
It's Travis. All right, go ahead, Travis.
All right, so like if someone says don't think about a pink elephant, you'll just think about the pink elephant and nothing else, because like why would you think about a pink elephant?
No, Travis, that doesn't count. That's exactly what Coach said. What the heck does that mean, though? What pink elephant?
You've never seen a pink elephant?
Yeah, everybody's seen a pink elephant, but what does that actually mean? Well, what it means, guys, is don't be the pink elephant in the room. That's what it means. What's the pink elephant in the room? It's the bad. It's the not good. It's I don't want to be that guy. I'm that guy. Strike three, bases loaded, game over. Okay, that's the pink elephant, right? You don't want to be the pink elephant. Okay. That was great, Coach. That was pretty good. Travis, nice try, though. We give you like a B plus on that.
Good.
So I'll take it.
Excellent.
What's Sebastian eating? Is that a macaroon?
I don't know what that is, but Zach Penley had a great lunch earlier. I mean, he went right through his lunch during this hour. I saw him chewing away on stuff. The only thing is I'm really enjoying that Vince Marchese, he's on this call. Vince is not one of our Giant players. He's a young guy. He is a Jersey dugout kid. He's that young guy who worked his butt off all winter, and he's obviously going to become a futures Giant. So, Vince, we're watching you there. We hope you're awake. Looks like you're sleeping in your dad's car or something right now. So, give us a wave, Vince.
I saw you there.
All these older guys. We know Vince is going to be wearing the orange and black someday. So, it's all good. So, guys, Billy, you can unmute everybody. There's Vince. Vince, say hi to everybody.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, pal? So, Giuseppe, we want to say thank you from our Jersey Giant family. This was great. Thank you so much. And we hope you come back on, whether it's next week, the week after, or something else. We'll want to share your experience with us again.
Thanks for having me. It's great talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Soon.
Thank you.
DJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you.